So we've got a bit of a patch here to do. It's a bit of a crumbly one. I'm going to get rid of the crumbly plaster, rub it down, and then we're just going to fill it. I'm going to PVA it first and fill it with some bonding coat and then put a thin coat of skim over the top. That's the plan. So first thing, get some PVA mixed up. Quite a thick mix this one, probably 3-to-1 PVA. I think there's a bit of SBR in that also. And then just dab it in the patch. Make sure there's plenty in there. The water from that mix is going to soak into the plaster and it's going to leave a thin layer of glue on the surface, so we're going to get a good key. It's going to stop that plaster from drying out too quick and then falling off later. Don't need a lot of water for this particular job. I need a little bit of cleaning water and then a little bit of water to mix my bonding coat up with. So this is my bonding coat, which is used for filling deep patches. It's a grey colour, some of it's pink, sometimes grey or pink, and then this is my multi-finish that I'll be using to finish the patch off with. So bonding coat you can actually use on quite deep areas. So deep patches, bonding coat, and then you're looking at between 8mm, between 8 and 11mm for deep patches for bonding coat, and then your finishing plaster. Obviously that's just for skimming, so you're putting your finishing plaster quite thin, 2mm. So I like to mix my bonding coat quite thick, that way it goes off a bit quicker and it's a bit easier to handle, especially when you're putting it in deep patches like this. This patch is quite a deep one. I'm just spreading it in, pressing it right in to make sure I get right back into that patch, and then flicking my trowel open as I pull up towards the area that I don't want any plaster on. So pressing in and flicking off, pressing in and flicking off. Making sure I get right into the corners as well, and that way it's just leaving a nice easy thin coat of finish to go over the top. I'll leave that to firm up for a bit and I'll see if there's anything else to do, any other patches. So the electricians have left a 1-inch gap between these two sockets, which is always a fiddly job. It's quite deep as well, and the back boxes are set right back, so I'm using these Uzi boxes just as a guide to get some plaster in where it belongs. I'm going to let the plaster firm up and then I'll remove the Uzi boxes, leaving that gap solid, hopefully. I'm just using my finger trowel to get my plaster pushed right back, ensuring that I get a nice solid connection between the back of that channel. Always fiddly these jobs, they're a pain. Sparkies are plasterers' worst enemies when they're leaving gaps like this. They should really ideally leave a couple of inch or no gap whatsoever. It makes life a lot easier for us. So it's just a case of persevering, squeezing a bit in, pulling it up and down, trying to get it roughly flush with the original wall, and then again it just leaves me to put a thin coat of finish over the top of that when that firms up enough. Right, I've checked that bonding coat, it's firm enough, so I'm mixing a little bit of multi-finish so that I can get a bit of finish on top of the bonding coat. So I'm spreading this quite thin over the top of that one, and again feathering just above that where that bonding coat ends. So I'll be chucking some in and again flicking the trowel open. So you're only spreading plaster when you're keeping your trowel closed. So you close your trowel and roll it to spread and then flick open, lifting the plaster off to create your feather edge. literally using my finger there just to push some of that bonding coat in to make it a little bit smoother, so I can bob some finish over the top. Just using my finger trowel to spread up and down, pushing a bit of plaster in, again flicking the trowel open to feather into the original. So yeah, pushing it up and down until I get everything covered. I'll probably go around it a couple of times as well. So the majority of this is not even going to be seen, but I don't want to be coming back to it when they have put the face of the switches and the sockets back on top. So I'm just making sure by going nice and close to those oozy boxes. So I'm just checking that bonding coat to see how firm it actually is, moving the wires out of the way, and I'm just going to bob a little bit of finish over the top of that. This one's much more fiddly than the other because I haven't got anything to use as a guide like the Uzi boxes in the other one, so just persevering with this one, dropping some in, squaring it off, dropping some in, squaring it off. The majority of this isn't even going to be seen. I've gone way too wide. I know that the amount that is on show is literally about not even 10 millimeters, so I'm going to have to cut this back, but I'm going to get it to a stage where it's nice and solid first, then I'll get a Stanley knife and trim it off so that it's nice and neat. Tidying things up now with a sponge. Any excess that's on the original paintwork, I'm just going to wipe it with a sponge just to keep on top of the mess. So the plaster's nice and firm now, so I'm using two trowels, one as a guide and one to scrape, so I get a nice flat surface, just like that. And I'll do that all the way around, so that hopefully when the switches are put back on, the electrician aren't going to damage the plastered areas that I've been working on. So that's how I plaster around sockets and switches and patches. Hope this video was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, if you consider doing so, it helps the channel. Thanks very much.